Hi, welcome to another episode of Simply Healed. I'm here with Dr. Johnson.
Hello, Shai. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to do another episode, and today we are answering a very commonly asked question. Does sugar feed cancer? Doc, let's jump straight into it. Does sugar feed cancer? Because I know oncologists and many nutritionists will highlight that sugar feeds cancer. So what's your take on that?
Well, what they say is true, no? So yes, indeed, sugar feeds cancer cells, but the healthy cells also feed on sugar.
So basically, sugar is needed by both cancer cells and healthy cells. So we can't deny our healthy cells sugar. So what impact does this have on a cancer patient? Should cancer patients opt to go for a low sugar diet? And maybe that's, and actually many cancer patients do, and they end up taking a keto diet. So Doc, maybe you can comment on low sugar diet, is it really necessary, and maybe a bit on keto diets, because I think many cancer patients may try keto diet just to go on low sugar.
Yeah. So here's the thing, no? So what you say is true. Cancer patients usually, when they go for a consult, when they go and ask their oncologists, their nutritionists, what should I eat? The first thing that they advise is, okay, don't eat high sugar foods. So,
They really say don't.
yeah,
They really
don't eat,
tell you
yes,
to go for low sugar
low
food.
sugar food. So at least the low glycemic index food. So low glycemic index means that when you eat the food, it
doesn't get
influences
absorbed quickly.
It doesn't get absorbed quickly. It's the influence. If the food is high glycemic index, when you eat the food, it spikes up your blood sugar. If it's low glycemic index, then it doesn't spike the blood sugar so much. No, so oncos and nutritionists tend to advise patients, okay, don't eat high sugar foods. So usually patients, when they hear that, okay, don't eat high sugar
Doesn't
foods.
it include fruits?
Yeah, that
But
includes
I
fruits.
think we very naturally think that fruits and vegetables are good for you when you are unhealthy.
Yes.
So when you have cancer, but yet it seems like the advice is not to take fruits.
It's actually very common sense to think so and to do so.
Yeah, it's very common sense. An apple a
yeah.
day keeps the doctor away.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there are certain aspects or certain characteristics of fruits why you should still continue eating them even if you have cancer, which we will explain later.
Okay. But the quick answer is, even though fruits are high in sugar, because many of them are sweet,
yes,
you should still take them.
Yes, you should still eat them because
Even though sugar feeds cancer.
yes,
And you will explain that later in the
Yes,
program.
yes,
Alright,
yes.
so stay tuned.
So first, let us establish, is it good for you to shy away from carbohydrates and just opt for a very low carbohydrate diet, like a ketogenic diet?
Keto diet.
Yeah.
Not only
So,
cancer patients,
Let's
even normal
establish-
people.
Yes, let's establish that first. Okay? So here's a study that investigated ketones, the ketones influence on metastasis or tumor growth. Yeah. Okay? So a ketogenic diet actually increases metastasis by 2.5 times.
250%. 2.5 times. That makes cancer lethal, because that's the part of cancer when it spreads, and that's what really kills you when cancer spreads.
So how did they find out? It's because when they investigated where does ketones usually gets produced? It's in the liver. Okay? And when they found out that in breast cancer patients, where does breast cancer usually metastasizes to? It's places where there are high ketone production, like the liver.
Okay.
Now, well, Doc, it doesn't mean that if the breast cancer metastasizes to the liver, it just shows that this is where ketones are. So usually cancer cells would metastasize to
Where ketones are.
the liver. But will this affect my overall survival? Okay, will this affect my quality of life? Will this affect my how long I live? So in this graph, they showed that breast cancer patients who have very high ketone levels actually live shorter lives than those breast cancer patients who have lower ketone levels inside their body.
And for those who are very serious in their ketogenic diet, they actually go and buy ketone strips. They test their level of ketones in the body, and they want it to actually be high. but the graph shows that your survival probability actually drops from 80% down to 60%. And that's 20%. That's a huge gap, 80 versus 60 on survivability. So it goes beyond a doubt that ketogenic diet is not an ideal diet for cancer in general.
Yes. So now that we have established that ketogenic diet might not be a good idea, so
We go back to our normal diet, right?
We go back to our normal diet,
Which has
carbohydrates. Yes, I need to eat carbohydrates, but you have to choose now.
So Doc, how exactly does sugar influence cancer growth?
Okay, here it is. First, before I go to that, to answer that question, we have to establish there are two different types of carbohydrates. We have the complex carbohydrates and the simple carbohydrates. So what are these? The complex carbohydrates are your whole food plants. Okay? So imagine a carrot, imagine an apple, imagine a mango, imagine green leafy vegetables. Those are whole foods. Okay? And those are your complex carbohydrates. So if you eat those kinds of foods, okay, these foods tend to have very low glycemic index, meaning when you eat those foods, the carbohydrates in them will not get absorbed easily by your intestine. Okay, and if the dietary carbohydrates are not absorbed easily by the intestine, then the blood sugar will not spike so high. If the blood sugar doesn't spike so high, then your insulin will not spike so high as well, which actually insulin has a very important role in cancer occurrence and in cancer progression. Okay? On the contrary, okay, what if you eat simple carbohydrates? So what are simple carbohydrates? These will be your fruit juices, your sodas, your pastries, your candies, your junk foods,
your chocolates.
Yeah, your chocolates, your breads, okay, your refined grains like your white rice, okay? So any product in the market that has very low fiber content, okay, that would now contribute to a very high absorption rate of glucose or carbohydrates in your intestine. If that happens, your blood sugar will spike so high. And to counteract the spike in blood sugar, your body or your pancreas would also equivalently produce a high enough insulin. So if your body is producing so high insulin, then the elevated insulin levels will now set you up for set up the environment to develop cancer and to drive cancer progression.
So Doc, just to make everything very crystal clear, insulin is actually a tumorigenesis or a catalyst for tumor growth.
Yes.
Cell growth, actually.
Yes.
So again, how did they find out that insulin contributed to cancer?
Yeah. So take a look at this graph. Okay?
Oh wow, this graph looks a bit complicated, Doc.
Okay. Now, please take a look at this chart. Yes, right. I agree. It is very complicated, but I will simplify it for you. Okay? Take a look or focus your attention on these two images. Okay? Insulin resistance and obesity. Okay? What are the factors that makes you resistant to your insulin or makes your insulin function less? No? Or what are the factors that can make you overweight? Okay, it's lifestyle factors.
Yeah, it says that genetics and environmental
factors. But you know, if you compare genes and environmental factors, the influence of genes over these two is actually very minimal. Environmental factors still has a very significant effect or a very big effect. Okay, so what are the environmental factors? The food you eat, how physically active you are, how much sleep do you get, how stressed you are. Okay, so do you have any vices? Okay, so these are the environmental factors that can influence you becoming resistant to your insulin or you becoming obese or overweight. Now, once you have these two factors okay, you now have a cascade of effect that can lead to cancer occurrence, cancer progression.
Yeah, I see all the terrible end result at the bottom. You know, you look at DNA damage. That's exactly what happens for cancer cells. Anti-apoptosis, which is your cells grow without dying, so yes, it multiplies out of control. Migration means metastasis.
Metastasis, yes.
And angiogenesis. This means the growing of blood vessels, which causes your tumors to grow faster because they create blood vessels to themselves, have their own special suction feed of nutrients.
Yeah.
So all these factors, Doc, so basically lifestyle, high sugar intake will lead, anything that leads you to have diabetes, basically is going to cause you to have cancer, because once you're diabetic, your insulin resistance, your insulin levels in your body goes up. It promotes tumor growth.
Yes, absolutely right.
So now I understand. They've always said that, eating fast food and drinking soda, all these leads to cancer. But before you reach cancer, you will be diabetic. You will have high blood cholesterol. Now at least we understand being diabetic, how does it develop into cancer? For the diabetic part, high insulin levels will lead your body to have high tumor growth factors, to put it in simple English. And that will lead to the development of cancer, or to make a cancer patient cancer go worse. So actually, it's very bad for a cancer patient to be on insulin shots.
That's very true, no? So how did they find out about this? Where did this theory come from? So the theory came from they studied diabetic patients. Both diabetic patients are insulin requiring. However, only there's this group where they gave these patients insulin shots, and then they looked at their risk for developing cancer. The other group are insulin requiring, but they did not give them insulin shots. Then they observed their cancer risk. So at the end of the study, they found out that those diabetic patients who injected insulin actually has a higher risk of developing cancer.
So today we learned that diabetes really is one of the pathways to developing cancer, and it's because of your elevated insulin levels. So Doc, you talked about we can't avoid sugar. We want to take complex carbohydrates. If you were to put it into the most simple way to explain, what's the difference between complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates? What's the key defining difference?
Okay, complex carbohydrates are foods that are made by God.
Okay.
Foods that are made by nature. Okay? Simple carbohydrates are made by man.
Oh, that's very easy to hear.
Yeah, or processed by man. Okay? So that would be your bread. You cannot see.
What about pasta?
Pasta is also simple carbohydrates. It's also processed.
Okay. So it's brown rice,
Yeah.
red rice,
Yes.
black
So
rice.
at the very foundation, right? Just ask yourself, can you find anywhere in the world that says bread plant?
Okay, breads don't grow on trees. Okay.
Yes, apples grow on trees. You can plant avocado. You can avocado tree. You can plant mango trees. You can harvest rice. You can basically every plant foods that you can imagine. Okay, but you cannot find elsewhere. Cake tree, cake fruit,
Cake tree.
bread fruit, or bread tree, or bread plant. There's no such
No
thing.
such thing.
Okay, so
There we
that's
have
how
it.
you do it.
Anything that is natural, made by God, is a complex carbohydrate. Anything that is man-made, processed by man, is simple carbohydrates. So Doc, we all need sugar. We can't avoid it. So the strategy not to take sugar is wrong.
Yes.
And cancer patient needs energy, because you need your immune system to work, you need your organs to work. So don't skimp out on sugar. However, don't take simple sugars. Take complex carbohydrates. And that is food that's naturally made by God. So if you want to eat rice, don't eat white rice. Eat brown rice, red rice, black rice. And if you can't avoid, for example, you're somewhere where they only serve white rice, so the advice would be then to eat lots of fiber, right?
Yes. Compensate on other plant foods.
Mix your fiber with your carbohydrates, and then you will lessen the impact of the simple carbohydrates, because the fiber is also one of the key difference between a complex carbohydrate and a simple carbohydrates. All right. So there we have it. We have all the keys. Today we answered the question: is sugar bad for you for cancer? The answer is sugar feeds cancer, but your healthy body also needs sugar. The key is to take complex carbohydrates and avoid simple carbohydrates. Doc, that brings back to one final question. So it is good to eat fruits, because fruits are made by God.
Yes.
So they are rich in fiber, they won't have a high glycemic index. what is bad is to drink fruit juice.
Yes, because you remove the pulp, you remove the skin, you remove everything that the fruit has except the juice.
All right. So the advice is that eat fruits, but don't drink fruit juice. Okay. Just eat the actual fruit itself, right? And I noticed, Doc, if we blend fruits, even if it's a smoothie, and it's much healthier drinking a smoothie than juicing. However, we tend to overeat if we blend.
Yes.
You know, if you eat one banana, you get full.
Yes,
but you can
true.
blend easily
Yes,
3 bananas
three
into a shake,
yeah,
and you
that's
don't
true,
notice
that's
it,
true.
right? So to everyone, to help manage your sugar intake so that you don't have a spike, which leads to insulin, which is a tumor growth enhancer, is to actually eat the actual fruit itself, because you will be full faster, you have more complete nutrition, and you avoid that sugar spike. So, Doc, before we go to AMA, Ask Me Anything segment, let's try to answer questions that we received from our viewers previously. Okay, Doc, flashing on the screen right now is a question from our audience. It says, Doc, what comes first? You're diabetic and you get cancer, or you have cancer and you might get diabetes? Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. Diabetes is a risk factor for cancer. So, you can
Most likely.
most likely you will be diabetic first before you get cancer. However, there are some cases, because diabetes is just one explanation of how people get cancer. No, it's just one risk factor. So there are other cases wherein you can get cancer first, then be diabetic later on. But
That's rare.
Yeah, but that is no, not really rare, but it's a different pathway already.
And that's likely because of treatment, right? That causes the development of diabetes after cancer.
Treatment, also your lifestyle, if you didn't change your lifestyle at all, because when you get cancer, you get stressed, right? So being stressed can also increase your blood sugar. So that can also...
Wait. Being stressed can increase your blood sugar?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
How does that work? Sorry, you see, we ask a question and suddenly a whole new topic comes up.
So how does stress increase your blood sugar? If you're stressed, your cortisol increases. Once your cortisol increases, cortisol is a hormone that increases your blood sugar. So cortisol is diabetogenic. Okay, so that's how stress increases your blood sugar. Also, that is the direct cause, no? The indirect relationship between this is the food that you eat. Because if you're stressed, the food that you select are usually processed foods that are very high in calories, foods that are very oily and fatty, foods that are very high in sugar content. So
that's a double whammy.
Yeah, that's a double whammy, and just by behavior, on top of the cortisol that that your body is already secreting, then you eat these junk foods, then that would contribute further to the rise in your blood sugar.
Wow. Okay. Since we're on the topic of sugar, this is a question from Karen Chiang. If we opt out white sugar, should we replace it with brown sugar, organic brown sugar? Will that be okay?
Okay, for sugar, regardless of what type of sugar that is, sugar is processed. So white sugar, brown sugar, or whatever color your sugar is, that would still be the same. Okay?
Also, so when we choose brown sugar at the cafe over white sugar, we're not making a healthier choice?
No, you're just fooling yourself.
Oh my god! So we're not making it's not a healthier choice.
No.
What about Muscavo?
It's the same. Sugar is sugar. That's
oh,
devoid
wow.
of fiber.
So let's go for the one that's cheaper, right? The white sugar is the cheapest.
But whenever you consume sugar, no, just put very small amounts. So
no, I'm still struggling with this. So all this time, when I chose brown sugar over white sugar, I thought I was making a healthier choice. I'm not.
You're not. You're not.
Okay, that's pretty devastating.
Sugar.
That's really devastating. All right, but
here's the
good
thing,
to know.
Here's the thing. Okay, for rice it's different.
Okay. Now that's the second part of this question. White rice versus brown rice or red rice. Is the brown or red rice better than the white rice?
Okay, white rice is refined grain. Okay, so how does the rice industry does this? So when they harvest palay, in Tagalog it's palay, but rice. Let's just say that it's rice. Okay, when they harvest rice, it still has the grain still has the brown outside. Okay, so the brown outer cover
It's drying away, right?
Yes. So that is the fiber, and the vitamins are there. So of course, if you try to cook rice that way, it would take a very long time. It would be very hard to chew. It would be very hard to swallow. So what the manufacturers do, and also to prolong shelf life, what the manufacturers do is to remove the outer covering, the husk or the bran. So when you remove the bran, that is already polished rice or your refined grain or your white rice.
But if you eat the original brown rice or red rice, it is rice in its natural form.
Yes, it is rice in its whole food form.
And that is why it is God-made, it is complex carbohydrates.
Yes, so because you retain all the vitamins, you retain the fiber. Okay, so it would still be better to consume brown, red, or black. But for cancer, no, because brown, red, or black would still have differences when it comes to its effect on cancer.
The best rice is
red. I would choose red over black and brown.
Okay, so if you do a ranking, it'll be red, the best,
Red,
followed by
black,
then brown. Red, black, brown. All right, that's the priority in its value to a cancer patient. So go for red rice if you can find it. Last question, Doc. Back to the question that I mentioned just now. More specific, is it okay for a cancer patient to eat 4 or 5 different fruits during breakfast? For example, slice of papaya, slice of dragon fruit, maybe half a banana, a little bit of avocado, and some pineapples.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. No, actually, I would rather you eat different kinds of fruits rather than just one singular type of fruit. Yeah, because in this way, if you eat different types, then you get different vitamins, different phytonutrients, from different kinds of fruits, and this would really benefit your gut microbiome to make sure your immune system is really strong, and so your body can fight off cancer.
You know, and of course, people will then say, I take 5 different types of fruits and I juice it into a juice. Then that's not good.
That's not good because you remove the pulp, you remove the fiber.
And also the fact that, you know, when you drink a cup of water or a cup of juice, in 5 seconds, 5 seconds, you can drink an entire cup of fruit juice. However, it's very difficult to eat the contents of a fruit juice. Chewing, you can't eat it in 5 seconds.
Yes.
So there is no spike in your sugar. If there's no spike in your sugar, a gentle increase of your sugar does not cause a spike in your insulin.
Yeah.
So again, that is once again a mistake. Fruits are healthy for cancer patients, just don't juice it. I think, thinking about it, you don't even blend it, because blending you control, but you still have the spike because you can finish the whole plate of fruits in 5 seconds because you gulp it down.
Yeah.
So still chew your fruits, eat it normally, that's the most healthy, and you're advised to do so.
Yeah, and for cancer patients, no, very important, if you're someone who has no choice but to drink your food, make sure that the speed wherein you drink the smoothie is the same. It's slow. It should be the same pace as when you're actually eating.
Okay, so you can go for a smoothie. Never go for juice, because juice removes the fiber and all the important nutrients. If you blend it in a smoothie, it's still all there. However, you gotta drink your smoothie as slowly as you are chewing the actual fruit.
Yeah.
So it take 15 minutes to finish 1 cup of smoothie.
Yes, take 15 minutes.
Slowly, so that there's no spike in your sugar.
Correct.
Alright, Doc, let's now move to the actual live Q&A, the Ask Me Anything segment. I see the questions are coming. Let's go.